Alright, so once you open up the project file, this is what you should see. Just the watch in the center of the 3D viewport with nothing else in the scene. If you haven't already, make sure to download this blend file just so that you can follow along with this tutorial. So the first thing we can do is add our materials to this watch. So if you go into material preview by pressing Z on your key, you'll see that there's no materials assigned to our watch right now. However, we won't be creating the watch. I've just removed all of them just so you can see the process of adding materials. Kind of like an exercise for once you finish creating your model. This tutorial series is how you would apply materials and do the lighting and rendering and all that kind of stuff. So everything post-modeling is what we're going to be doing in this series. So what I've done here is just dragged up this timeline, and I can change it from timeline to shader editor just so that we can see the nodes that we're assigning to our model. So the first material that we can add to our watch is for the main body. And what I can do is right click on our watch, go down to this panel here and select main. As you can see, all of my materials have been named. So once you click assign, there might be some delay in Blender adding to your model. This is because we have a fairly intensive bump node setup here, which can be quite taxing on your device, especially if you don't have a graphics card. So my suggestion, if your Blender is slowing down, kind of like what mine is, for this tutorial, what I'll do is just unplug the normal and then plug it back in once we're ready to render our scene. So as you can see, we have quite a few nodes that go into our bump node, the main ones being our noise texture and our wave texture. And then we plug that into the bump, which goes to a principled BSDF, and then we mix it with some glossy. So the next thing I'm going to add is some of the color around the text and the watch hands. So I can do that by selecting this text here. And we could select all of them and assign them one by one, which would be fairly time consuming. But what we can do, since all of these objects here are text and I want to assign the same material, I can use the shortcut Shift G and select groups, and it gives up all of these options here. But the one we want to select is the type. And as you can see, that's selected all of our text objects in the scene. So once that's been selected, I can go back to my materials section here and assign the text. However, that didn't work because we actually haven't assigned all of our materials like so. We've just selected them. However, we save time by not having to select all of our objects here. So now what we can do is press Ctrl L and then link. We have our linked menu here. And that means we can select link materials, and our linked material will be the one that we've assigned here. As you can see, it's in lighter orange. So all of the darker orange selected objects will copy the material from this lighter orange one. So I can press Ctrl L and link materials and then right click off of it. And as you can see, we have all of our text colors assigned to the same one as seen here. Also, if you want, you can change the name here. I just put Tammy because that's my name, but if you want to change it to yours, you can just press backspace a few times and change it to whatever you want. Anyway, so we can continue creating more parts of the watch, and I added in a secondary material to the watch. So I can select the watch hand and give it this secondary color. Okay. And then once again, it's a very similar type of material as a previous one. One thing I'm going to change quickly is just changing the vector from generated, or the texture coordinate from generated to object, just so that's based off of the object. like so. And then I can do the same for this other hand here. So add in the secondary material. And what I can do for this little ring here, I can add in the text, which is kind of like a tertiary material. So we can continue adding in the rest of the materials to the watch. So for the buttons, I can assign this metallic shader here and do the same. So add in the metal shader, a very basic metal shader. Since this isn't a very big part of the watch, I didn't bother adding in any bump to it. And then for the handle straps, what we can do is add in our main material once again. However, in the intro and the renders that you've seen, the middle part of our watch is actually a different color. And this is what I wanted to show you in this tutorial series. So if we want to assign different materials to the same object, as you can see, this is all one object. However, we want to make this middle part a different color. What we need to do is tab into edit mode. And as you can see, it's actually on this side because it's being mirrored. So go over to this side and we have different objects here. So 3 distinct objects. And we want to select this middle one. We could select them all by going into X-ray mode and selecting all the vertices. But the quickest way to do that is just to deselect everything by right clicking and then pressing L to select, L to select this linked area here. So you just hover above it and press the L key. And then what I can do is go over to the right hand side. And right now we only have one material on our object. However, we can add in another one by pressing this plus key. Then what we can do is select this drop down menu and click our secondary material. And then with your objects or your mesh selected, what you can do is just press the assign key and that will give you your material. Once again, to save computational power, I'll just unplug the bump for now. And we can do that with this object here. So we tab into edit mode. The reason why it's sprawled out just now is because we've tabbed into edit mode and we're not using the curve modifier. Anyway, what we can do is select these two and assign our main material, or it's just assigned to everything. And then I can select this middle one here and then press plus, go to the drop down menu and select the secondary color and then click assign like so. So now we are starting to add in different colors to our material or our object, our watch. We can do the same for the middle. So add in your main material. Oh, and then for this, I guess this is just distinct objects. So I can just add in, not the text, but the secondary material. And as you can see, the watch strap has been fully colored in. And if you saw, and if you were paying close attention to our the initial renders, you can see that there are different colors even within the watch here. So what we can do is tab into edit mode and we will do some manual face selecting. So I'll press 3 on my keyboard or click this button up here for face select. And then what I can do is alt click this edge loop here. I'll press the plus key, go to this drop down menu and click on secondary and press assign like so. And then is there any other parts that I need? Yes, there is. I need to do the watch handles here, or the handles, I don't know, the arms. I almost forgot the name. And then for this face here, I'll add in a new material and change it to text and click assign. Text again is like the tertiary material. And yep, so I'll select this, do the same for the hour hands, plus, and select the text. Apologies, there's noise in my area. Anyway, the final thing that we need to add material to is just the bottom of the watch. It's not going to be noticeable in the render, but just in case you do have some different angles, what you can do is select this middle face here. And to select faces outwards, what you can do is press the keyboard shortcuts Control and plus on your numpad and keep pressing the plus button until you have the selection that you want, or you could just select and Shift Alt click these faces like so until you're happy with your selection. And then I will press the plus key, and instead of adding the tertiary or the text color, what I can add is the metal material and click assign. So yeah, most watches have this metal bottom to them. And that is almost all of the materials we need to add in, except for the glass watch face. However, we don't have any glass here, but if I press Alt H, you can see that I added in the watch cover, the glass. However, whenever I'm modeling, I kind of need to see the rest of the watch. So what I can do is press Alt H to unhide it, and then we will give it the glass shader, like so. So this is how it looks, and we can't actually see any of our stuff underneath the glass because of how Material Preview works. But if we go into Render View, maybe we'll see a difference. So right now, let me quickly disable the HDRI. So go into your world settings and just unplug this like so. I will show you how to add in the HDRI in a moment. Turn the strength up to 1, and we still can't see our objects. So why is that? So Blender Eevee has different ways of interpreting light, but one way to correct this is to go to our settings here, click down this screen space reflections, and enable it like so. And then also, if you haven't already, make sure to enable refraction, and that should allow light to pass through your glass material. So if I go back to Material Preview, this is how our object looks, and yep, there's nothing else to assign. If you want, this would be a good opportunity for you to start customizing your material. So if I wanted to change my watch to a different color, all you need to do is go to your principled BSDF node and maybe change it to like a red, and as you can see, yeah, the color of your watch has changed. So take this opportunity to change the color of your watch to whatever you fancy, and then we can move on to the next section, which will be to start setting up our scene.